Hey, good night for all those that are listening. Daily Conversation Log, 1st of October 2024, Tuesday, 1st of October 2024. All right. So, Robin Hatcher, my star indicator for who showed up and who didn't show up, isn't there, but Robin didn't make it. Hopefully, we're able to reschedule. Tracy is who started the day. Really cool conversation. Melissa Stiers. I'm not sure why my stars aren't showing up, but Melissa didn't make it as well. Pascal, all the way from Luxembourg. I'm going to go through really quickly because I want to share a story of what happened way at the end of all of these conversations. So running through quickly tonight. Indra, well, as quickly as I can. Indra Chakan, another good conversation. She's one of the first person I spoke to from Prague. And yeah, just ton of energy she brings. Then, of course, Chris Wang, aka Christopher Wang, just from Runnymede. Great conversation again. Lorena has something called 12-minute talks. So I was excited to speak with Lorena the second time around. Really cool conversation again. Amy, so okay, I'm seeing the stars showing up now. So it seems as though I did something wrong, but Amy didn't make it as well. I met her in Indiana. Hopefully she reschedules. Mickey, we met in San Antonio and yeah, had a really cool conversation with him. Yeah, it's so many things to share, folks. Danny Walsh, wow, what a conversation. Danny Walsh, I'm super proud of what you're doing. Like, see, when I start sharing about one person, then I wonder about how do I share about everyone, but hopefully, folks, the podcast episodes are going to be released soon. We're working tirelessly on them. Unfortunately, we had a computer that decided that, it no longer wanted to serve us because it died. And it's not turning on, and have no idea why it's happened. But when you're pursuing goals, this is how it goes, right? Like something happens. Nevertheless, we're pursuing having those episodes released. We wanted our initial goal was that we would release the episodes 12 days from the time of recording. Unfortunately, we've not been able to meet that goal just yet, but be patient. We will build momentum, and when these episodes begin releasing, of course, you'll know. But Danny Walsh is definitely an episode that I had a fun conversation with a return guest, Melanie Johnson. Didn't have her. Katie Nall, great conversation. Nicole Johnson. So Nicole started the conversation on marriage and shared about being married, being divorced, and then remarrying the same person that she was initially married to. And that was an interesting conversation. But yeah, piquing your curiosity to hold on until it's released so you can learn more. Scott Westwater, oh, Heart of Gold, working in the AI space, helping companies understand how they can incorporate AI in what they're doing. Just to note, like Scott, he was, hey, if you have 5 minutes, I can walk you through a few things. That's the heart of this business guy. But again, one of the things that impresses me is he works in the space of being married and working with his spouse while on the business. So I'm always looking for tips and tricks because that's how Amanda and I work. Brooke Borup. I'm always sharing the story of the first time I saw Brooke and the work she was doing at Podfest 2017, her work ethic and what she brings to the table. It always feels as though she has eight hands and she just brings it, right? Amanda and I got to meet her in St. Petersburg. She visited when we were there at the Rising Tide. Today I told Indra as well about the Rising Tide for when she visits as well. I need to connect Brooke to Indra as well. That would be fun. But yeah, Brooke is has unfortunately experienced what goes with the hurricane that hit. So, the floods have destroyed her home. But, when I say destroy, like there's damage, it's not totally destroyed from what she expressed. But I'm humbled by the fact that she would still make time to have a conversation with me because it was a perfect reason, right, to reschedule or to cancel. And she came out, and it's a quality that we've seen with Brooke. She runs My Clone Solution. She helps businesses with everything administrative. That's how I would suggest I'd describe it. But she talks about helping businesses with their superpower. But yeah, Brooke is an amazing person. We appreciate you really, and I'm sure there are other people that have been affected by nature and what it's produced, and really praying that the relief that is needed gets to you all. Then I had Debbie Compton. Her photo there captured me with the teacup, right? Grateful. And she talked about dementia and having three parents, right? Which consisted of the in-law and her parents, go like being the caretaker for them. And it's not as though it was her job. Like she ran a business. Um, she had a job. She worked and made the decision to care for them. And that really struck close to my heart because we experienced a bit of what it means to make a decision to care for your parent. With Amanda's mother, we saw that. We saw, like our business having to slow things down so we could be there for her in her final days. And we're better for it. And she's also better for it, today. But when you're going through it, it's not easy. But yeah, really enjoyed that conversation and the value she brought. Then I had a humorous uplift from a comedian, right, who visited a second time around on the podcast. Meryl, super cool conversation. Yeah, just very, 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 very funny woman. Then Robert. So Robert has something called Law Pods, or is it Pod Laws? It's Lawpods. And his thing is he creates podcasts in the lawyer space. Yeah, Robert has definitely upgraded his game consistently. His studio, his look, everything is pretty amazing. Then I had Vivica. Uh, well, the first time I spoke with her, and she told me about the hand gliding thing that she does, as well as back then she was doing LinkedIn, but now she's helping other women 50, 60, and 70 in that age group really get into their business and their purpose. For those that are launching after they've retired or about to retire. But yeah, she's still hand gliding. In fact, they're about to buy a motorized hand glider, both her and her husband. So really intriguing. Then I had Janine. Janine's doing something. I mean, my background is purple, and she's talking about Prince and what they're doing in the space by incorporating music with leadership training. Um, really, 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 really cutting edge. data being shared there in terms of how we teach. Really, really interesting. Whew, tonight I feel a bit tired, I'll tell you. Whew. All right, so we're almost done here. Dr. DJ, bringing time management. Wow, the energy was high on Dr. DJ. Wow, from Atlanta, Georgia. That was a fun conversation. Lauren Lindsay, we tapped into the coaching, right? So we tapped into coaching, and like Lauren, she was very vulnerable in sharing how her work on herself provided an opportunity for her to be able to help others. And then we talked about what that is like, right? Like revisiting someone's trauma and how it affects the person that's working with them. And I find it very heroic that someone would choose to help someone, even though it causes them pain as well, right? To do that. I'm not saying she said it causes tremendous pain. Of course, she's done a ton of work, but she just talked about what's necessary to refuel, right? To recharge and to ensure that boundaries are maintained. And I think that's a big takeaway for any interaction that we're having, right? Like it's very important to maintain those boundaries. Moving forward, Kathleen Beachboard. Kathleen has 7 children, and I used this picture here for Kathleen, but there's really another picture she has with a very small pillow that has hope on it. Our organization has we give hope, and hope is an acronym for helping others pursue excellence. So, of course, I dug into the conversation of hope, and boy, oh boy, did she deliver. And it was wow, so but her story is basically, and of course, the later conversations are fresher on my mind, so I can go a bit deeper, right? Unfortunately, the more recent conversation, all right, so the more recent conversations are closer in my mind as opposed to the ones I had this morning. But I have, but nevertheless, Kathleen Beachboard was amazing, and she talked about her children, some adopted. She didn't have all of them, but how hope helped her to really cultivate, what the children needed to grow. Then I had Alicia, and this is where it started to get interesting, right? So, while speaking with Alicia, all right, just to go back a bit, my podcast initially was the template questions of asking set questions to thousands of people. And that was fun, 2016, 2017. It was really fun, right? Hearing the answers to the questions that helped me realize the truth of the concept of each person is unique. Saw that really clearly, right? From those questions and the stories and the conversations that I had. For moving forward to 2018, 19, 20, I started moving away from the questions, had guests come back on, and went in what I call the flow conversation, where you're using what people have told you, right? Answers they've given you, but you're flowing with the conversation, right? Like the questions that pop into your mind, and you go that direction. So that was good. Then COVID happened, and we stopped podcasting for a bit, for two reasons. Of course, everything that is COVID, but then Amanda's mother, like dedicating our time there. So we shelved the podcast. On the return of the podcast, now we've invited people back to the podcast, and I have questions. I'm curious. And the questions that pop up. And one of the questions that popped up while speaking to Alicia was, her interaction with the conversation of death. And she went into basically how she interacts with the conversation of the thoughts of death daily and how it impacts how she shows up to fulfill her purpose. And of course, I explained all of that. Like, I didn't just drop the question, well, how do you interact with death? Right? Like, I explained why I was asking the question. And I really opened up a beautiful conversation. So, thank you, Alicia, for sharing what you're doing. Moving forward, didn't have Shakira Moran. And then the final person, Cindy Ashton, well, the person I thought would be the final person didn't show up as well. So hopefully they reschedule. Again, like I'm not bothered tremendously by people who do not show up because I've had experiences in the past in podcasting when like there have been accidents that someone may have been in or like near death experiences. So my podcast is the least of the concern in my mind when someone doesn't appear. I really worked on not getting angry or disappointed by that, right? I'm just hoping that everything's good with them and we can always reschedule the conversation. Yeah. But something interesting happened while I was waiting for Cindy to come on. Just as I ended Alicia's conversation, uh, this person joined, and I have like this really nice, like the fireworks thing, right? And Tunisia. So when someone joins the room, I get an email that tells me someone has joined the Zoom room. So I didn't have Shakira. Like I knew like she messaged that she had a work thing, right? So I knew she wasn't coming on. And then I saw Tanisha in the room. So I joined the room so I could tell her as I was searching her name, thinking like who's joining the Zoom room, right? But I searched her name and saw that she was supposed to meet with me tomorrow for our conversation. When I joined the room, she said, "Hey, is this a today thing or a tomorrow thing?" And there's a part of me that's the goal guy, right? I'm like, I didn't get that a few conversations today, and if I get Tunisia, so there's that part, very small percentage, right, of me that's saying that. But the thing that came to my mind, and we've been reading Proverbs a lot for this year of 2024, and there's a Proverbs that says, if your neighbor asks for something and you have it, you should not tell them tomorrow. So I was like, hey, Tanisha, if you want to do this today, we can have this conversation today. And she said, hey, it's okay with me. If you want to do it tomorrow, then we can do it tomorrow. So I was like, hey, the Proverbs, la, la, la. So, let's do it. We begin the conversation and she starts sharing on forgiveness. She's written 55 or 56 books on the topic of forgiveness. And then, just like with Alicia, a question, my apologies, pops into my mind. And the question is, well, how has the topic forgiveness worked with the conversations you're having with your husband? And that created an interesting, you know, feedback where she began sharing that, hey, things aren't great right now with us. And she didn't dig deeper she didn't share more on the specifics, but on how challenging it is to have written the book about forgiveness and then having to actively share with her husband this challenge where she now has to apply the attributes or the qualities or the principles that she's written on. Now, as I shared, like I had conversations with people earlier on the marital subject. And it's a subject that's close to my heart because I love my wife and I do want to be married for a long time. And I'm adding the adverb, I believe it's an adverb, happily, right? I do want to be married for a long time happily. And I think you have to actively pursue that. So these conversations, I learn from them. And when I can, in any particular category, I drill in to help me learn more as well. And of course, as a as a side value, our amazing audience learns from that as well. Everyone that's listening. But, you know, more than anything else, at the end of it, she told me the details. Of course, I'm not going to share that with you because she did that privately. But to sum things up for those that are listening, forgiveness is, I think, one of the most, it's, if you know the drug Buckley's, right? The medication Buckley's, it 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 tastes awful, but it works, was the slogan of Buckley's, right? Forgiveness, I believe, is a lot like that. It tastes awful, but it works. And I'm happy Tunisia, you know, I can't even say she made a mistake, right? To join the room. I'm happy that worked out the way it worked out because she brought something to my life on a topic that I think is important to us all. And as she is going through what she's going through, I was happy to just hold that space to confirm as well that it's okay, right? It is shameful. It is stressful. Sometimes you wonder, like, do I deserve this, right? But hey, forgiveness allows you to drop things that you don't need to carry on, right? Life is tough just as it is. So, for those that are listening, hey, test it out. Forgive someone who you've not forgiven. So, that was my day today, 1st of October. Ooh, we've had what, 21 conversations today, I believe. Uh, but more than anything else, I've had fun. Thank you for everyone that showed up. Appreciate you tremendously. Let's see what's next. Hmm.